rock, 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 rock. Hello and welcome in everybody to another One Piece poll video. Today, surprise, surprise, we're here to talk about the one, the only, Dwayne XEBEC Johnson. Yes, that is right. This is a ROCKS D XEBEC video. It's been a while since we've actually seen him, but with Domi Reversi now being finished here in Elbaf, a lot of questions are arising. Mainly because of what we saw with Dory and Brogy. After they killed each other, they got undomified, and with it, they seemingly went back to full HP. Yeah, that's right. With the exception of Brogy's wrist that got shot up before he got domified, they are pretty much at full capacity, right? So, with that being the case, a lot of people turned their attention to God Valley and ROCKS D XEBEC, who also was Domi Reversi'd. And a lot of people are wondering, did he survive? Did he come back at full HP? We just didn't see it? That right there is a loaded question. And with that being the case, you know exactly what I did. What is it? What did I do? That's right, I held a poll about it. So, as you can see right here, I asked a very simple question a couple weeks back about whether or not ROCKS D XEBEC survived God Valley. And as you can tell from a quick glance, a lot of people do not believe he survived. 19% say yes, he is still alive, while 81% say no, he's dead. Let the man rest. So, as far as my opinion, I think he's dead. I do not see a world where ROCKS D XEBEC is still sailing on the open seas in incognito mode. I just can't see it, but we will play devil's advocate and we will theorize about how he could have survived. And the main way he could have survived is if what we talked about happened. Let's say that when Garland came in to land the finishing blow on ROCKS, he flipped. And boom, a full HP ROCKS D XEBEC emerges from the ground and he defeats Garland once more alongside Maffy and St. Somers. Could that have happened? Could somebody have saved ROCKS D XEBEC even if he didn't get revived at full HP? Like maybe Barbell or maybe one of the other ROCKS pirate remnants. It's tough because I just don't think it's super plausible. We saw how the ROCKS crew felt about ROCKS D XEBEC during God Valley. They loved the guy, but they didn't love him enough to swing out for him and to run it back for him. And then as far as the whole Domi Reversi healing him route, there are some oddities here. First up, when he initially got Domi Reversi'd and turned into a demon, he did not flip into the ground like the Giants of Elbaf. Instead, he got diddled by Emu when he got turned mid-air. So there is that key distinction right there. And then of course, after Roger and Garp obliterated him and ROCKS D XEBEC got undomified, he didn't heal. We already saw that he did not have the demon fangs. He didn't have the demon horns or wings anymore. That was him reverted back to normal. He was not healed. So because there's so many oddities around his whole demonification, I do not think he got the same treatment that Dory, Brogy, and the Giants of Elbaf got when they got unflipped. I do not think ROCKS came back at full health or even a little bit of health. I do not think ROCKS D XEBEC got the same grace that the Giants of Elbaf got. Yeah, it's just tough to really imagine that ROCKS is just out there and about. People are even saying that he might be the man marked by flames, which I think is even crazier. Because it's like, okay, sure, he might have gotten marked by flames during the battle because Roger did use a fire-based ace attack. But at the end of the day, like, why would he grab a poneglyph? Why is his ship black? And why is he just sailing around with it, causing whirlpools? XEBEC doesn't have whirlpool powers. I think there's just a lot of things about this that just don't feel right with him being alive. And yeah, because of all of that, I just think he's cooked. I think he's obliterated. And of course, we do have Rayleigh's line as well, where Roger and Garp are like, hey guys, Scopper, Rayleigh, what happened to ROCKS? And Rayleigh says he was killed. Of course, some people look at that and they're like, oh, that is when he got undomified. That's when he got revived. But like I said, at the beginning of that chapter, we saw him without any demonic features. He was already undomified. That right there, what Rayleigh is talking about, was his second death. So I personally think the chances of him surviving are really low. And while I love ROCKS D XEBEC, I think he really did just take the community by storm while he was present. I feel like his story is somewhat conclusive. And of course, his will is being carried on through Blackbeard. I think that's another thing too. For me, at least, it would be really odd to have ROCKS D XEBEC around while Blackbeard's around. They're essentially the same character, appearance-wise at least. Of course, personalities, they're very different. But appearance-wise, it's like looking in a mirror, man. You know, this is Blackbeard with white and blue hair and on Trent. Yeah, because of all these oddities, I'm just gonna lean towards him not surviving. And if he were alive today, what would he really contribute to the story? Unless he's like a Madara figure where he's like really old and decrepit and he's just like chilling in a cave and guiding Blackbeard on his path. I just can't imagine him being around. And of course, like if he was around, why didn't he run it back on Wang Ji? I mean, Wang Ji took over his island. Why not fight him? Why not search for the 2 devil fruits he wanted? Why not go back to King Harold all those years afterwards? There's just so many weird things about ROCKS D XEBEC surviving that I just can't personally wrap my head around it. Even when I try to play devil's advocate, it's like, I don't know. You know, there's a couple of logical fallacies there for me, but could Oda make it work? Yes. You know, that's always my stance on a lot of theories. While I don't agree with him being alive, could Oda actually contort the story in a way where it makes sense? Of course he can. You know, I always say that. It only takes 1 chapter for a theory to go from bad to good. While I don't agree with this theory right now, maybe with more information, I would open up to the idea. Like a prostitute opening her legs, right? Not gonna do it for free, but you give me $20, boom, boom, boom! It's open, boys. Oh yeah, one more reason why I do just want him to be done in the story is because I feel like his ending was just so emotionally strong. I loved that final chapter where he was like, oh, Garp, Roger, please kill me, right? He's crying because he thought that he killed his wife and son. And then he had the whole thing where he was saved. And he was like, oh, like, am I going to leave this island? Am I actually going to escape? And then he looks up and he sees Garling, Summers, and Matthew walking by. And he's like, nope. Roger, Garp, you guys live on, though. I just feel like he had such a grand conclusion that I would dislike it if he did come back. Of course, that is my own personal opinion. If you guys disagree with that, that is totally fine. But that's just how I feel right now. So, getting into the comment section, we're not going to be here for too long. I can't imagine we're going to get crazy insights off rip. You know, we're working with the information we got, so we'll see what people are cooking. This says, he's coming back. Oh, okay, it's a meme. He's coming back along with Whitebeard, Ace, and all the flashback mothers. I love this image so much. Hopefully I'll do my due diligence and I'll put the image up right here. But it's a panel, a fake panel, of like all the dead characters of One Piece coming back from heaven. And they're like, we came to help, Luffy. You got like Pedro, Corazon. I think people put Pell in there for honorary purposes. You just have so many dead people coming back, and it keeps on getting updated. The last one I saw, they did add ROCKS D XEBEC in there, and it's just so funny, man. This says, he is the man marked by flames, I guarantee it. There we go, yeah. See, we got some man marked by flames people, and like I said, that's totally fine. I just wish there was like more of an explanation as to why he's doing it, how he's doing it, you know, why has he not been found? You know, it's one thing to just say, he's that guy. I kind of wish there was like an explanation beneath it too. Like, how do we go from point A to point B? This says, he became Emu's flashlight. Yeah, I love the theory. I don't know if you guys remember it. It was the whole thing. It's like, okay, ROCKS' sword, which is now named Eclipse, mind you, is it still around in the current story? You know, of course, we don't have the grade of ROCKS' sword, but if you were to tell me that ROCKS' sword was a supreme grade blade, I'd believe you. So, you know, while ROCKS is not alive, does his sword exist out there somewhere still? Does Blackbeard have it? Of course, Blackbeard's ship is named the Saber of XEBEC. Maybe he has Eclipse in his storage somewhere. This one says, he is the man marked by flames. Oh, here we go again. Oh, shoot. 3 comments in a row almost. Yeah, ROCKS is the man marked by flames. Again, I just wish that there was an explanation tied to all of these comments. Like, oh, he's the man marked by flames because of XYZ. This is how it works. Because right now, I just can't see it. Like, everything we know about the man marked by flames doesn't exactly match up to ROCKS. So there are a couple of things, like a couple of leaps we'd have to make to call him the man marked by flames. One more thing too. You know, I think this right here throws a wrench in a lot of man marked by flames theories, even mine. But Law, how does Law know something about this character? That right there is always the one plot point that makes me rub my chin. It's like, yeah, like somehow, some way, Law knows about this character, whether it's through rumor or firsthand knowledge. Law got a lot of weird focus whenever they were talking about the MMFB. This comment says, the thing is, I believe that Garling is so fraudulent that his attack didn't kill XEBEC completely. Hey, even if Garling didn't do it, let me tell you, he's got Saint Sommers right beside him, which is not saying too much. And you gotta imagine, man, you know, ROCKS, he couldn't fight back then, too. ROCKS could not fight back. This says, I hope he was one of the zombies at Thriller Bark somewhere. Oda would be the goat of all callbacks. ROCKS as a Thriller Bark zombie. I feel like if he was, he should have been stronger, right? I feel like he would have been like a super special zombie on the same level as Oars. Because, you know, we had Gonzui, we had Captain John, Gil Bestar. They didn't really show out all too much in terms of strength. But, you know, Roxy's a Beck zombie? I don't know, man. I feel like Mori would have went crazy with that one if he actually had him in the freezer. Yeah, okay, so this is referencing the meme from up here. Yeah, we're here to help. XEBEC's size is close to a half giant. He's bigger than a normal human. If he has some giant blood, he isn't going to die after a sword strike. Problem is that we didn't see the sword strike, right? You know, we're assuming Garling just went in, poked him, and that's it. But I'd like to imagine they poked him multiple times, or at least they poked him until they knew he was dead. Yeah, I mean, and then of course the island sank. Yeah, he doesn't have a devil fruit, but I don't think he'd survive that. Unless Barbell saved him. You know, that is one thing. The island sank. He should have drowned. Barbell could have saved him. As crazy as that sounds, it could have happened. It says he's either dead or pinned to a wall in the flower room. A motherfucker that strong will draw attention regardless. Combined with ROCKS' over-the-top personality, he'd still be making headlines if he was free. Yeah, I agree. He'd either be making headlines or he'd, you know, be with Blackbeard or Eris. I just feel like he wouldn't go into incognito mode. Maybe he does to look for the devil fruits, but you can only stay incognito for so long. You know, we're talking about 38 years of radio silence from ROCKS D XEBEC. He didn't go back to his crew. He didn't go back to Herald. It's like, yeah, I think he's done. I think he's done, man. This says, I low-key hope he did, but I doubt it. Unless plot twist turns out that he's the man marked by flames. If he's still alive, we'll have to justify his absence in the present, and please, Oda, no amnesia. That would be the worst outcome, huh? You know, I will say this. If ROCKS is alive, at that point, I just want him to be like a Madara character. He's in the background. He's putting it all on Blackbeard. He's retired. He's good. He's chilling with his wife if she's still alive too. Yeah, don't give him amnesia. This is like the worst timeline. Oh, actually, who's that ROCKS fellow you mentioned? Garp? Roger? Never heard of him. Eris? Is that a chick I know from somewhere? No. I don't think that's gonna happen. I have faith in Oda. I have faith in Oda not to pull that card. I don't get how ROCKS would be dead, especially after the recent chapter reveal on how Domi Reversi works. I think this is mainly because Domi Reversi is just very unique from case to case, and ROCKS, from what we saw, again, he did not initially flip into the ground, and when we saw him after he was undomified, he did not seemingly regen any health or stamina either. I think it's because of the special circumstances in which how he was domied. This next comment says, remember when Saturn was told to dispose of Emmett and he didn't? Well, Garling seems ambitious to say the least. Maybe, just maybe, there's potential for us to have a modern day ROCKS return. A modern day ROCKS return. Dude, he'd be so old, man. He'd be so old. I don't know. Like, you brought up Saturn here. Yes, this is true. But Saturn wanted to study Emmett. Garling, what would you gain from letting ROCKS D XEBEC live? You know, Garling was the one who blew the whistle on the Davy clan. They know this guy's Davy now because he's revealed to be, you know, Davy D XEBEC. And it's like, I feel like they just kill him, man. Especially, I will say this, Garling seems like a guy that would want revenge. Because ROCKS beat him down so badly at the beginning of God Valley, I could see Garling not sparing him because of that outright. You know, he probably says, forget the Davy clan, forget everything else. I'm here to kill Rocks and get my vengeance. That seems like a Garling thing to do. And of course, going back to Rayleigh, I don't think Rayleigh would lie. I think Rayleigh actually saw Rocks get killed. This one says, after finding out that the only way to come back from Domi Reversi is to actually die, with that knowledge, he is alive and in seclusion, where he believes he killed his wife and kid. That's why I think he started a new life, and Buggy is his kid. And he thought the Pirate King would be someone worth to leave Buggy with, because he could just not return to the life of a pirate. Or is the guy with the burn mark? Buggy's age. I'm pretty sure that isn't possible. Yeah, so Buggy is 39. So Rocks having Buggy after God Valley, that part does get nixed out. So that wouldn't exactly work. As far as him believing that he killed his wife and kid, I agree with that. But after he sees that Blackbeard is making moves, would he not reveal himself? I think that's one thing. Yeah, I feel like he would have said, hey, son, it's me. I'm proud of you, man. Yeah, it's tough. This says Rocks is dead, but he had the revive fruit to Hakba, a young teach. A lifetime of experience is why Blackbeard was so patient with executing his master plan, and explains Blackbeard's off-screen wins, because spoiler of who Blackbeard's sleep demon really is. I remember this. This was a really big one. Like, Blackbeard has like a second personality, and it might be ROCKS D XEBEC. Yeah, this is still a fun theory. Only problem is, like, how would this even work, per se? Because to our knowledge, ROCKS did not have a devil fruit. ROCKS had no devil fruit, and as far as the revive fruit goes specifically, Brooke had it at that time. Brooke was around, so the revive fruit being a thing for ROCKS, that does get nixed as well. Oh yeah, one more thing too. This is random, but this is often overlooked. But did you know that the God Knights can just Domi Reversi people as well? Emu, yes, they have been the main one to do it at Elbaf and also at God Valley with ROCKS D XEBEC. But before Emu showed up, the Davy clan was Domi Reversi'd. And it's like, damn, so the God Knights all just have this ability, I think? Or at least maybe Garling does, or the girl alongside Garling. Yeah, that's a crazy thing to think about. I wonder, could Garling have Domi Reversi'd ROCKS D XEBEC? Or was ROCKS just way above Garling at that time? Or it's like, yeah, maybe Garling tried to Domi Reversi ROCKS, but it didn't work. Yeah, I think that's so fascinating, right? Because when we think of Domi Reversi, we all just think of Emu immediately. But it's like, well, I got Reversi'd before Emu showed up. So somebody else did it, man. There's someone amongst the God Knights, or just all the God Knights, that actually have this ability. This one says, if ROCKS is still alive, it won't be my usual fine whatever reaction to an Oda fake out death. Maybe Blackbeard can bring him back with Moria's powers, maybe use his own shadow for a perfect fit, but if he is still alive, that will legitimately be a detriment to the entire series. As far as, bringing him back with Moria's powers, that'd be interesting. I don't think that Blackbeard would put his own shadow into ROCKS, mainly because Blackbeard would then not be able to step out into the sun. So I don't think that'd be the case. Having him come back as a zombie, would I want that? I don't know. I feel like there is a world where ROCKS coming back as a zombie wouldn't be awful, but it wouldn't be like my first pick. You know what I mean? Like I said, going back to like the whole thing where ROCKS could be alive, there are ways for Oda to make this work and make it feel decent, but off rip right now, as of chapter 1179, I'm just not really feeling it, brother. Lil bro got a dose of reality by Emu. Not even his toxic fandom can revive him. The lurking legend. Remember this? Yeah, I remember this. Oda, I think like, when was it? Like 5 years ago? Oda was like, yeah, now that we're in Wano, we're gonna meet the lurking legend. Never really happened. Oda never came out and said who this was. So there's a lot of speculations like, oh, maybe it's the Lunarians with King. Maybe it's Kaido. Maybe it's Joy Boy. Yeah, the lurking legend thing is just still so funny, man. He will return with the great Soge King. I was actually so sad when he got Domi Reversi'd. Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so amazing. I feel like his ending was just so tragic that it makes his death feel special. And because Blackbeard is seemingly carrying on ROCKS' will, I think that's important too. I think that is great. This says, unless Barbell snuck Garling and the God Knights at the last moment, I find it hard to believe he would be alive, but we can never underestimate the father of the sea. Yeah. He sinks down, like, let's say Garling really did not finish him off. Barbell could have saved him, man. Barbell is, funny enough, the one member of the ROCKS pirate that we didn't see escape the island. Something's happening with him. If he was alive, Barbell is somehow involved. I think that's my stance. As dumb as that sounds, I know the agenda around Barbell is high right now, but yeah, Barbell must have done something at that point. This says Big Mom and Kaido as well. They are done. They won't come back. Yeah, Big Mom and Kaido are a different story. Funny enough, we held the poll about Big Mom and Kaido, and it was very different from the ROCKS D XEBEC poll. I think Big Mom and Kaido was almost like 50-50. People believe that they were alive, but they just won't play a big role. I kind of lean on that as well. I think they might come back. They have more agency than ROCKS right now. For Kaido and Big Mom, I can see them coming back as just retired pirates, but we will see. Like I said, different topic. We saw Domi Reversi, Dorian Berge return alive to their normal forms after killing themselves. So I guess XEBEC is alive after Roger and Garp killed him in his Domi Reversi'd form. Yeah, but that is also when Rayleigh came in afterwards and said that he was killed. So he did get killed twice, right? With Roger and Garp, and then with the God Knights. So that is why I think he's cooked, man. Oda Sensei told me in a dream that he's coming back. That man ROCKS is dead, but that's okay. He was goated. Yeah, that's how I feel. I loved ROCKS D XEBEC, man. I think he was such a phenomenal character. I genuinely do not think that we've had a character come in and really just captivate the entire audience onto his side in the span of like 4 to 5 chapters, right? In the beginning, he had more chapters than that, but yeah, like we held polls about ROCKS D XEBEC, like, oh, who's your favorite old generation pirate or marine? We had Roger, we had Garp, Whitebeard was up there, and ROCKS D XEBEC was there. And in every poll, ROCKS D XEBEC won. He won. People loved this character. And I think because they love him so much, people don't want him to die, But I think because he had such a grand finale, I'm okay if he just never comes back. I'm cool with Blackbeard just carrying on that will of fire. But yeah, you guys, that is it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts on this all down below. We couldn't really go too in-depth about this because we don't have a lot of big theories as to how ROCKS could survive, minus him just being like a zombie or Barbell saving him from the ocean. It's just tough to see, man. He died once with Roger and Garp, and then he died a second time by Garling and the boys, which Rayleigh then confirmed. He took his second death. His Domi Reversi was special amongst all the Domi Reversi people out there. He did not flip into the ground. He did not flip back afterwards. I think he's cooked. But again, that is just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, and stay safe, brothers.